Good morning, Pittsburgh. I'm your host, Royce Jones.
And I'm Taylor Fife, and welcome to another exciting episode of Daybreak.
Our top stories this morning start with changes from the Port Authority. Will your commute be affected?
And
Find
an update from Wednesday's United Student Government debates.
Wake up, Pittsburgh, because here comes Daybreak.
Start your morning with us,
only on Daybreak. Well, everybody, spring is officially here, but we're still holding on to some of those winter temperatures. However, I do hear there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
I hope so. It has been pretty bad weather.
It has constant snowfall, slippery road conditions, the works. It's like wintertime all over again.
Rain and sleet and everything else.
Right. Well, here to give us our forecast, we have Anaya Thomas. Anaya?
Yes, good morning. For today's weather, it's looking like it's going to be partly cloudy, as well as for Saturday, it's going to be partly cloudy as well, with a high of 39 and a low of 20 on Friday, and a high of 43 and a low of 27 on Saturday. And then on Sunday and Monday, it's looking like it's going to be pretty sunny outside, so feel free to take your dog to the park or just go out with friends and have a good time. But as they said before, spring has not sprung just yet, so hold on for that. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, it's looking like it's going to be pretty cloudy outside. And then for Thursday as well, it's going to be cloudy as well. So as I said before, when it's cloudy on the outside, just make sure that you're wearing the sunshine on the inside. Back to you guys on the couch.
All right. Well, thank you, Anaya. I'm happy to find that out.
Yeah, I had to pinch myself. I seen 60 degrees on Wednesday. Wow.
That's what I'm saying. 58. I'm seeing temperatures I like. I'm okay with it.
Well, here's your city and campus news. Pittsburgh police reported on Monday that 55-year-old Jonathan Owens L. of the Hill District was charged in connection with the bank robbery of downtown Pittsburgh's Key Bank. Police stated that L. went into the Key Bank that is located inside of the 306th Avenue building at the intersection of Wood Street and Oliver Avenue and passed a bank teller a note demanding money. L. was caught by police shortly after the robbery after he was seen getting onto a Port Authority bus on Smithfield Street and 3rd Avenue. L. is now being held in the Allegheny County Jail on one charge of robbery and one count of receiving stolen property.
According to Allegheny County Police, 47-year-old Michelle Gunnell of Carnegie was killed on Monday after she was hit by a car. Allegheny County Police stated that Gunnell was walking near the intersection of East and Main and Chestnut Streets in Carnegie around 4:30 p.m. when she was hit. The driver was a 78-year-old man who police say appeared to have suffered from a medical emergency that caused him to hit Gunnell. Allegheny County Police say the investigation is still ongoing, and if you have any information, you're urged to call the county tip line at 1-833-ALL-TIPS.
Major changes are in the works for East Carson Street on Pittsburgh's South Side. The Pennsylvania Department of Transportation and Port Authority released their plans. Major changes are in the works for East Carson Street on Pittsburgh's South Side. The Pennsylvania Department of Transportation and Port Authority released their plans to revamp and rebuild the roadway from the Smithfield Street Bridge through the 33rd Street Bridge starting this fall. PennDOT stated that the rebuild will focus on, quote, improving pedestrian safety throughout the busy entertainment district. Port Authority is planning to add major upgrades to its, quote, bus, light rail, and incline stations near Smithfield Street. PennDOT also says that the project is estimated to cost $15 million to $20 million.
A winter weather advisory was in effect for a good part of the day yesterday. Heavy snowfall causing slippery conditions and decreased visibility for drivers. But for Point Park students, class was still in session, something student body president Robert Bertha calls an incorrect call. In an email sent to school administration, Bertha addressed the issue, saying that 75% of Point Park students are commuters and that the safety of students, staff, and faculty must come first. The university canceled classes early last month for similar severe weather conditions. The administration has not released an official statement, but school officials told Bertha they want to take some time to address the matter thoughtfully.
It's all about who you know, isn't that what they say? Point Park's Campus Activities Board is hosting an etiquette dinner to help you build your networking skills and learn some table manners along the way. Students will network with professionals while learning proper dinner etiquette with the help of Point Park Career Development. The event is set from March 28th from 2 to 5 p.m. in the Lawrence Hall Ballroom. You can buy tickets for $5 in the sale office.
UView Television's live USG debate was last night. Presidential candidates Haley Hoffman and Kaylee Kearns answered some tough questions and expressed their plans to tackle campus issues. But things started to heat up as Hoffman slammed current President Robert Bertha's administration, calling Bertha's communication skills poor, and claimed she was often excluded because President Bertha doesn't like her opinion. Now, students can vote for USG president, vice president, and senators on Point Sync from March 26th through the 30th.
Now, Royce, you were at the USG debates. How was that?
I was there, Taylor. Not a huge turnout. I spoke to people who were there last year that say it was a tremendous turnout last year. Not that many people this year, but it was interesting to watch Bertha's administration sit at the watch party while Hoffman made her statements about the way it's been running.
Well, after the break, Facebook under fire. Is your information safe?
And we'll have a special guest from the University of Pittsburgh to come in and tell us about their annual film festival.
All that and more only on Daybreak.
Whatever happened to predictability? The milkman, the paperboy, evening TV. You miss your old familiar friends, but waiting just around the bend. Everywhere you look, everywhere there's a heart, a hand to hold on to. Everywhere you look, everywhere there's a looks of somebody who needs you. When you're lost out there and you're all alone, life is waiting to carry you home. Everywhere you look, everywhere you look,
Spending just 7 minutes climbing stairs each day cuts your risk of a heart attack in half over 10 years. Sure, elevators are convenient, but you burn twice the number of calories just going upstairs than you do while jogging. Think about how long you spend waiting for elevators. The average person spends the equivalent of 2 years waiting for elevators over the course of their lifetime. Don't let that be you. Save time and increase energy. Next time, take the stairs.
Let's go. Welcome back to Daybreak. I'm Josh Group here at the Daybreak News Desk with your national news. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg finally broke his silence. The New York Times says earlier this week that the data analysis firm Cambridge Analytica accessed information from around 50 million users. The Times and UK media outlet The Guardian reported that the firm, which has ties to Donald Trump's campaign, attempted to influence voters. Zuckerberg called the scandal a breach of trust between his platform and users. The Times says the data was originally gathered by a professor legally under Facebook's guidelines. The transfer of that data, including to Cambridge Analytica, violated Facebook's guidelines. Facebook has seen user engagement decline since the 2016 election, and since the news broke, the tech company has lost nearly $50 billion in market cap. Zuckerberg said Wednesday that Facebook is working with regulators to conduct an investigation into the issue. The identity behind the deadly bombings that struck Austin and San Antonio, Texas, was revealed. Authorities say 23-year-old Mark Anthony Condit, an unemployed community college student, was responsible for a series of bombs that went off without warning in the Texas cities. His makeshift explosives included FedEx shipping containers that exploded on doorsteps. Authorities say the bombs have injured 5 and killed at least 2. 4 bombs were detonated before they went off. A 3-week manhunt for the bomber ended Wednesday. Authorities say he detonated a bomb in his car as police approached him. Finally, government funding is projected to run out again this week, but congressional leaders announced Wednesday that they are close to a deal to prevent another government shutdown. The House and Senate have until midnight tonight to pass the bill. The New York Times says the deal will include more than $1 billion for border security for, quote, physical barriers along the southern border. The government has shut down twice already this year. The fiscal year began October 1st, 2017. That's all for national news. Now, I see someone different over at the Daybreak set over there. Care to introduce them?
With pleasure, Josh. Now, today we have 2 amazing Pitt students on the show today. We have Ann Shetler and Jake Savitz to talk about their involvement in the Pitt Film Festival that is happening on April 14th. Now, can you guys tell us more about the event and what it all entails?
Yeah, so the idea behind it is like a citywide student film festival where students who are trying to make it as a professional get a chance to connect with a lot of different college students that aren't within their own community and their own bubble. So the thought is if we can bring somebody from Point Park to talk to somebody from Pitt who made a film in CMU, there's a chance that after college or while you're in school that you can all start using each other's resources and ideas to build this young youth community that I think Pittsburgh could really benefit from.
Right now, how did you guys get everybody on board from outside of the Pitt community?
Well, I mean, it's a big process. So it started out, we're going to start it at Pitt just because it made sense to do it in a small community. And then we're like, let's make it bigger. So we decided to reach out to Point Park and CMU and a bunch of universities because it's just about the entire city as a whole now rather than just Pitt itself.
Yeah.
So what are some of the greatest rewards and the greatest challenges from creating a film festival?
I can say right now, I think the fruit of our labor has yet to really been seen because we haven't pulled it off yet. This year it's going to be way bigger than it was last year, but so far the main challenge was getting the word out there. This is something that we kind of started pretty much guerrilla style via emails and DMs and how it's going now is we have people from. I think the first moment when I was like, okay, it's working, is when I had somebody from Robert Morris University. They submitted, and I was like, what? R&B? What? and we started with them. We got some from Chatham, and then I realized we're starting to have an impact on people. People are looking forward to. I got an email from a high schooler. They're like, hey, can we do it? And we're like, next year, for sure. So, but the challenge right now is getting the word out there, getting people to show up, having enough of a movement where people this is something I want to go to, I want to commit some time to, and I want to put my best work on a screen in front of a lot of people.
Okay, so just to be clear, students are submitting their work for the viewing, I suppose, for everybody to watch and enjoy.
One thing that film students don't necessarily get all the time is a chance to show it to a large audience, because it's a little different than watching it behind a computer screen and stuff. So it's a chance where people can come, and when you watch it on a big screen, it's like watching it again for the first time. Mm-hmm. People will react differently, if a joke lands or if it doesn't. So that's a pretty valuable experience. And the earlier I think you get that, the better of a filmmaker you could be.
Right.
Yeah. Now you mentioned you also did this festival last year. What is the difference between last year and this film festival?
We're bigger as far as people. Anne was not a part of it last year.
Yeah.
Okay. It was all Pitt students. We only had I think 13 or 14 submissions, and we had maybe 40 people show up, and I did it in 4 weeks. So this has been a year-long thing. We have a ton of other submissions. We have people that are trying to come. They're already asking when it is, how can I get tickets? So it's growing pretty quickly.
Yeah. Now, do you have any films in particular that you're super interested to see, or maybe you've seen some already?
I feel I'm excited to see RMUs because I think everyone forgets about RMU, and I think it's really interesting though that they're making films too, and it's so interesting just seeing what other schools are doing because we know what's going on in the Pitt community because we're a part of it, but at the same time, it's cool just bringing everyone together and like seeing this on like a big screen, like as he said, it's like a sense of pride of like knowing there's other filmmakers like you have like
Right.
out doing the same thing.
Well, can you describe your film program at Pitt?
So, in the yeah, well, I mean,
She laughs.
I've seen all these cameras pointed at me.
It's okay.
So, I think in the last 3 or 4 years, there's been a huge growth in media studies at Pitt, and I think a lot of it is due to the club that this is under. UPTV, University of Pittsburgh Television, has in the last couple of years grown. We're over 200 members now, and it's similar to what we're doing here, except it's at a couple of levels before this. So this is where we aspire to get to. We're a bunch of students. We have one faculty advisor. We're applying for grants, and there's a lot of help from the administration. We have a lot of really great professors to help us out, but we're starting somewhere with really high hopes and like a lot of energy behind it. Definitely something that maybe hasn't gotten as much attention as the STEM fields, but events like this, you know, reaching out, like being here right now, sure helps.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious, what specifically sparked your interest in film?
Well, I feel like that's hard to answer. At least like at Pitt, like the film program is like really like up and coming. Like we just got a production track like in the last year. So I think for me it was just like I always loved like movies, but I had never worked on them. So it was just like an opportunity for me to try something new, and I just so happened to like fall in love with it.
You?
So I actually eventually I came into school like thinking I was going to be a bio major because my dad's a biology teacher. I don't know. And I started taking a couple of filmmaking classes. And I was like, oh, this is really fun. And then I had a professor last year. His name was Demetrius Wren, and he talked about people. He did these case studies about filmmakers that didn't have like a traditional background. They either got into it late, or they quit their job, or they had like this different way of going about it that is interesting and inspiring at the same time. Because you're like, I can do that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's where the film festival kind of started. There was a filmmaker in New York that he showed us who just started grabbing videos that she liked, and she made a film festival in the basement of a bar. And I was like, well, she can do that. Yeah. I can make them bigger.
You can do it too.
Right, you're giving other people that opportunity. That's great. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, you guys. Well, after the break, we have our tech and entertainment experts to tell you everything you need to know.
Stay with us because you'll only find it all on Daybreak.
Good. Thank you.
Spending just 7 minutes climbing stairs each day cuts your risk of a heart attack in half over 10 years. Sure, elevators are convenient, but you burn twice the number of calories just going upstairs than you do while jogging. Think about how long you spend waiting for elevators. The average person spends the equivalent of 2 years waiting for elevators over the course of their lifetime. Don't let that be you. Save time and increase energy. Next time, take the stairs.
Let's go.
Welcome back to Daybreak. I'm Marley Pinchak here with your timely tech news. One of the most anticipated transportation inventions has recently provided consumers with a lack of faith in their company. An Uber self-driving car hit and killed an Arizona woman on Sunday night. According to USA Today, police say there was a designated safety driver behind the wheel while the test car was in self-driving mode. So although the driver had the ability to take control, neither the car or the driver detected the mobile pedestrian. Unfortunately, with intentions of reducing the number of car accidents, Uber made history as being accountable for the first pedestrian death involving a self-driving car. While Uber is making extreme safety changes, self-driving tests are currently banned in many popular cities, including Pittsburgh, San Francisco, and Toronto. Now on a more positive note with transportation companies, Lyft is offering free rides to supporters participating in the March for Our Lives rallies all across the country on March 24th. Lyft co-founders Josh Zimmer and Logan Green commemorated the survivors of the Parkland, Florida mass shooting in a letter uploaded to the rally's Twitter. They said, "We believe there is something seriously wrong when the threat of gun violence is so frequent and real throughout our country. Thank you for speaking up and showing the world that young people can drive meaningful change. We will continue using our voice and platform to encourage civic participation." Finally, get ready to look up at that sky and discover what may appear to be a bird, or a plane, or even better yet, an electric air taxi. Google co-founder Larry Page and his company Kitty Hawk is responsible for the development of this invention. The autonomous air taxi, referred to as Cora, is set to soon start testing in New Zealand alongside with New Zealand's Zephyr Airworks. The taxi can hold up to 2 passengers at a time and has a wingspan of 36 feet. It's designed to take off just like a helicopter and can fly at speeds of up to 110 miles per hour, along with altitudes between 500 and 3,000 feet. According to Tech News World, Megan Woods, New Zealand's Minister of Research, Science and Innovation, says the presence of Zephyr Airworks in New Zealand will help build our capacity in our own science system, especially in areas like software engineering, artificial intelligence, robotics, and aviation. There's everything for tech news. Now let's see who's in the entertainment spotlight now with Bree McCall. Bree?
Thanks, Marley. Looks like Beyonce and Jay-Z are on the run once again. The power couple released a teaser for the On the Run Tour Part 2 via Instagram last week. Beyonce and Jay-Z are kicking off their tour in the United Kingdom starting June 6th of this year. Back in 2014, the couple sold out multiple shows all over the country and across Europe for their first On the Run tour. According to E! This year's tour is being presented by Live Nation Global Touring and is in association with Jay-Z's entertainment company, Rock Nation. Tickets went on pre-sale for members of the Beehive and subscribers to Tidal earlier this week. Tickets then went on sale for the public on March 19th. If you haven't purchased your tickets yet, go ahead and head over to livenation.com to see them perform in a city near you. And if you haven't heard already, the Connors are returning to television once again. ABC is finally bringing back the American sitcom Roseanne on March 27 with an hour-long episode. Roseanne originally started out back in 1998 and aired on ABC up until its last season in 1997. According to ABC, the television network confirmed that the reboot of the show will have the same cast along with a few guest stars. Also, they promised to bring back the same comical ups and downs along with Roseanne's iconic laugh. The show will start off with 8 episodes to give fans a feel of what they've been missing for the past 20 years. That's it for entertainment. Now I'll give it back to you guys over at the couch.
Thank you, Bree. You guys may have watched the Pyeongchang Olympics live on television, but what about the things that happened behind the scenes? Coming up on Down the Road with Delaney, a photojournalist is in the studio who was there for the whole thing. Coming up.
One is the loneliest number that you'll ever do.
What's one word to describe CAB?
Welcoming.
Community.
Creative.
Experiences.
Family.
Openness.
Pineapple.
The Campus Activities Board is a student-run organization that consists of 7 different committees. Each focuses on event planning, marketing, and administrative activities. Join us in organizing the juiciest events on campus, from late-night bingo to festive dances to our team bonding meetings. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Point Park Cap, or like us on Facebook at Campus Activities Board at Point Park University.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. I'm Josh Troop alongside Jess Paterchak.
Defending his decision to kick out 15 Cuban diplomats from the United States.
Thanks, Allison. Fitness on Demand has returned to Point Park.
Residents fear that Mount Agung will have a repeat of 1963's eruption.
2-star NFL quarterbacks made the headlines this week after wrapping up.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. That's your news tonight. For Nick Tomarello, I'm Alex Grubbs. Have a great night.
Welcome back to Daybreak. I'm your host, Delaney Balmas, and you're down the lane with Delaney. And here I have NBC videographer freelancer Matt Gold. Welcome to Daybreak, and thank you for coming on with us.
Pleasure to be here.
So you just got back from the Olympics. Can you tell us a tad bit about that huge experience you just had?
Huge is the right term. 27 days over in South Korea as a part of the NBC team that was covering the venue with snowboarding and freestyle skiing. I was one of the several cameramen that were there. Most of my responsibility was called the RF camera, which is a wireless handheld camera on my shoulder. So I was either at the top of the hill or bottom of the hill, depending on the situation. It was a fantastic experience. My first Olympics after being in the business for 25 years, so never say new stuff can't come along.
So since it was your first Olympics, have you covered an event like snowboarding or skiing before, or was this your first time?
I'm a skier, but I've never covered it. So that was a new experience for me, which is pretty neat. I say I'm a skier loosely. I'm a recreational skier.
Okay.
So they did provide us with skis to be able to ski down to our positions if we needed to. I did that a couple times, but I was reminded how recreational of a skier I am. But it was really neat being a part of that experience, because I'm not around the TV side of that very much. So being in the half pipe is massive, and it looks big on TV, but it's really big when you stand at the bottom of it. You know?
Right.
So that entire experience was new, but TV is still TV. So it was a fun balance.
So did your TV experience, along with your recreational skiing, help you prepare for this new event that you were covering, or did you just kind of like fly by the seat of your pants and learn as you were there?
Well, I did, it's funny, you would think reporters are doing all the research, producers and directors, but any position, I think, should do some research. So I did some reading up on the athletes, really how the scoring worked. So I didn't come in blind. If you're taking your job seriously, you don't want to just kind of show up and fly it by the seat of your pants. So I did do some research and had plenty of time on the flight over, 14-hour flight from Atlanta to Seoul. So use that time wisely when not sleeping. So watched a couple movies and did some research for the venues I was going to be at.
So speaking of venues, a lot of the different venues and events had weather delays due to the cold weather or the wind, I believe. So did that affect your venue, and how did you guys play that off?
Only affected us once. They actually build in a decent, maybe not enough for alpine skiing, because they were very delayed with the high winds at the top of the hill. But they built in enough time to be able to have some margin for some delays. We were delayed on one day, and they looked at the weather forecast on another day later on with big air and said, we think the forecast isn't going to be great, so we're going to move it up a day. So there's some play in there, but it really didn't affect us too much. It was cold. The first 10 days, there was a high of about 5 or 6 degrees.
Oh, wow. That's really
cold. Working out in that in 8, 9, 10 hours at a time, you kind of pace yourself. And they gave us breaks when we needed to, but the weather didn't affect us that much. I mean, we know we're going to the Winter Olympics, so we go prepared.
That's very true. So you did mention earlier that this was your first Olympics. How did you rein in all of that awe of being at such a high-profile event?
I told myself before I went that you know, you get numb to the celebrity of it all and all of that. And it really, this was about the celebrity of the event, not as much about the celebrity of the athletes there for me, even though, you know, Shaun White and a few others were at the venue we were at. But this was, I was intentional with myself to step back every once in a while and just kind of look around. Because those are, you know, I don't know if I'll work another Olympics.
Right.
So you kind of take that stuff in, and now, you know, with cell phones and everything we have now, you snap some pictures for yourself. I've got 3 teenagers at home. I wanted to share some of that experience with them. I actually shared a decent amount, what I could legally on Facebook, just with people at home, and they appreciated it. They were watching the Olympics, and they saw a little bit of the behind the scenes. The power of social media is pretty neat. So you show them behind the scenes of what I was going to be doing that day, and then they watch the event with an understanding of some of that, which was pretty fun.
Right. I know a lot of people who don't really understand what goes on behind the camera, so that was a different scene for everybody. That's really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
So along with working in the Olympics, you've also worked some political debates, and you mentioned earlier when you were speaking to my class that you were next to Trump's ready room and that you got to hear some of the conversation. Do you feel that you, as a cameraman, do you get forgotten easily and you get to hear that kind of things often, or?
They know you're there.
Right.
But there's also an understanding, I mean, we are professionals. So there is a hope and an understanding that we're not going to share stuff we shouldn't be sharing. So, you know, my cell phone's off, and I'm there doing my job. If I'm within earshot, I'm within earshot. But actually, I had a great conversation with Mike Pence. You do 2 or 3 days of prep and rehearsals and everything, and he came in as a part of the whole entourage that was there, and he was standing right next to my camera, and he just struck up conversation and was curious where I was from. And they're normal people at times.
Right.
you see the normal in them every once in a while, but that was a really neat event to be a part of, and yeah, you have to use some discretion for sure.
Well, that all makes sense. Well, thank you for coming on. That's all the time we have for today. So I'll let Royce and Taylor close us out.
All right, thank you, Delaney. I love that segment. You guys, thank you for watching Daybreak. Tune in for next week for the news you need. I'm your host, Royce Jones.
And I'm your host, Taylor Fife, hoping your news is good news.